Jacqueline White, and I am from Section 201. We believe that is you and I, that education is not an expense. We believe it is an investment. It is that we agree with the 36th President of the United States, Lyndon B. Johnson, that we affirm this House believes that the U.S. government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition for all U.S. citizens. We would like to define, when debating this topic, we would like to refer to Merriam-Webster's definition of guarantee. Guarantee is defined as an assurance for the fulfillment of a condition. This House would also like to define tuition as the allocation of funding directly to the education institution being attended with the coverage of books and alternate supplies. The Pro side affirms the resolution by prioritizing education and increasing economic prosperity within future generations. As the resolution fails to define which specific U.S. citizens would be affected by the guarantee of 2 years of college tuition, we would like to evaluate that the resolution as it affects future generations. Education is a limited opportunity. By passing this bill, we believe that citizens will have the opportunity to obtain a college education. Students are graduating with a tremendous amount of debt, further discouraging many Americans from attending college. First, students being allotted 2 years of college tuition places their foot in the door for an opportunity to experience advanced education. This guarantee would also encourage Americans to give college a try whom had not previously had the opportunity because of their financial background. According to the Independent Coalition, Martha Katner stated, the predominant focus is that in the 21st century, a high school diploma is not enough for success in this economy and society. People need an education beyond high school. This further implements that without opportunity to advance education beyond high school, opportunity for employment would be scarce among future generations. Second, many Americans are discouraged when it comes to attending college because of the fear of crippling debt and causing them not to be able to actually complete their full degree. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, student loans present the highest amount of delinquent debt compared to all other forms of household debt, including mortgages, auto loans, and credit cards. The two benefits to these are, first, millions of Americans who have been denied the opportunity to attend college previously will now be able to experience the advancement of education. Second, these Americans will be able to indulge in education guilt-free without worry of drowning in debt while trying to improve the quality of their own lives and America's economy. Education is an investment. By passing this bill, more students will be able to obtain bachelor's degrees and beyond. FAFSA currently allocates over $150 billion taxpayer dollars a year to over 13 million students across the United States. Majority of the money allocated by FAFSA is grants, and the remainder is distributed as student loans with the intention of the government collecting accrual from these loans by spiking interest rates nearly 7%. First, FAFSA is a current investment into education. However, it is also an expensive burden. The high interest rates may bury students in debt before they even set foot into putting their education to use. This additional stress on students to fulfill employment and invest into life itself, such as buying homes, providing transportation for themselves, and investing into the economy. According to the Institute of College Access and Success, 59% of Texans graduate with debt over $26,000. With the elimination of FAFSA and the reallocation of these funds to secure and guarantee 2 years of college tuition to U.S. citizens, the government could reduce its own debt and improve the quality of our economy. This will occur by better investing into Americans' basic education. Two benefits to these are, first, guaranteeing 2 years of college tuition to Americans could reduce this debt by nearly $14,000, making it possible for debt to be reallocated by the government in a timely manner, without adding too much pressure to newly graduated students. Second, the improvement of our economy will occur by better investing into Americans' basic education that the first 2 years of college provide when it comes to the education taught in economic courses, mathematics, science, and literature courses that can provide basic job skills many Americans currently lack. The Society for Human Resources conducted an in-depth study of the corporate perspective on the readiness of new entrants into the U.S. workforce by level of education attainment. Results gathered that they showed more than 1/4 of employer respondents projected that over the next 5 years, their companies will reduce hiring of new entrants with only a high school diploma. The harms and failures to attain employment due to the lack of education imposed on Americans could be reduced significantly through the guarantee of 2 years of college tuition. This type of guarantee allows Americans to rest assured that they have all the equal opportunity to education regardless of their economic social status. This further allows worry to rest at ease with the fear of massive amounts of student debt.
I'd like to call on the Leader of Opposition.
We negate the resolution that the United States government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition. This House would like to define guarantee as mitigating the costs. We would also define 2 years as 4 semesters and define college as public universities, colleges, and community colleges. And lastly, we would define tuition, according to Merriam-Webster, as money that is paid to a school for the right to study there. Schools do not bundle tuition costs and cost of attendance. Our first disadvantage is we contend that tuition guarantee is nowhere near enough to mitigate the cost of attendance at post-secondary institutions. Attending a post-secondary institution incurs the majority of its costs not in tuition, but in other areas such as room and board, supplies, food, transportation, and mandatory fees. College Board has gathered data on the difference between average tuition costs and the cost of attendance, which is the entire cost of attending a public 4-year institution. Their findings show that room and board is on average double the cost of tuition. This does not include books, personal supplies, or transportation. Using a local source, according to the UNT Student Affairs Office, tuition for a full-time in-state student is $3,994.05, whereas all other costs total on average is $15,862. This shows that although paying for tuition will help a little bit, it is not near enough to help a student financially get through college. So students would either have to take out loans to cover the cost or apply for more federal money, further extending the investment of the taxpayers. This leads us to our next issue, which is that it asks the government to use taxpayer money to invest in the future of students, half of whom will not finish the degree that we paid for them to start. The National Institute for Education Statistics found during a 6-year study that only 59% of students that started their degree at a 4-year institution finished that degree by their 6th year. Not only is that barely half of the total students, but if they finish their degree in 6 years with 2 years tuition guaranteed, then they would still be paying for 4 years of tuition total. The statistics at 2-year institutions are not any better. According to the American Association of Community Colleges, 60.8% of students starting their post-secondary education at these institutions do not finish their degrees at the end of their 6-year studies. According to federal data, just 1/3 of students from the lowest income quartile who started at a public 2-year college in 2003-2004 finished a credential in 6 years. Among independent, low-income students at 2-year colleges, the completion rate was 22%. Even the most affluent dependent students struggle graduating at a rate of just 42%. These numbers do not reflect students who change their major after or during what would be their first 2 years. So any classes that are paid for that don't transfer to the new major will be wasted money, even if that particular student finishes their degree. Or if they transfer during these guaranteed 2 years and the institution they transfer to does not accept certain credit hours, then the money spent on them was pointless and the fact that the classes were a waste of time. Most first-time students are not prepared for college classes out of high school, and they have to take remedial classes to be able to succeed in college. Federal data shows that 68% of public 2-year college students have to take at least one remedial course. The average student who starts at a 2-year college takes 2.9 remedial courses. Very few of these students complete a degree or certificate. In this case, it is also wasted money spent on students to even be prepared to take the college classes. So in this instance, we are paying for students to take classes that will not even count for their degree. These are the reasons this House negates the resolution that the United States government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition.
We have a question. So you're saying that attending college isn't possible without room and board. So what does that mean for commuter students? Is their education not as valuable as people who actually live on campus, even though they're attending the same classes?
Wait,
college isn't just paying tuition, but it's paying room and board stuff. So what does that mean for students who don't live on campus, who don't pay room and board, that just pay tuition? Does that mean that you're devaluing their education?
No, it's just majority of students live on campus or have to have an apartment.
Okay, from some research that we did, UNT actually has more commuter students than it actually has students who live on campus. So it ranges from about 60% actually commute and then the rest actually live here. So that's something that we would like to consider too.
That's time.
It's time. Okay.
Mhm. I'd like to call a second member of government.
So, my name is Lena from Section 201. So going off what we stated earlier, we affirm that 2 years of, the U.S. government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition. Now, I'm going to go back to my opponent and just restate something that you mentioned earlier, that classes that they would be provided for these students who would be offered, let's say, the 2 years, if that was in effect. You said that some of the classes that they would take wouldn't be really considered at the end because it would be basically, in other terms, a waste of their time. Well, regardless, now most jobs ask and require at least 2 years or even a year of college. Do you think that they're going to be considering someone with just a high school degree or someone with at least, even if they had the opportunity to take a year, even if that's a chance that they drop out, at least they took a year of that free college tuition, it would raise them a better chance for them to have a better employment. Now I'm going to go over some things that we, as the affirmative side, have restated. And basically, we're just wanting to make this clear that the 2 years, offering 2 years would really benefit the government in the long run. Let's be honest. I mean, would we rather invest money on prison lobbies, that we waste so much money on them? Or would we rather just put our money of our taxpayers on the education of our future generation that would provide later on future jobs for our nation? Now this at the long run would help the economy. So for you to suggest that, no, this is just wasting the taxpayers' money, or let's say that it's not something that's going to benefit our nation at the long run, well, in the contrary, that's actually not true. This would actually benefit to create more jobs because now our future generation would have more acquire of knowledge to be able to become new entrepreneurs and to create jobs for our generation. Now, NOAA from the Economic Policy Institute stated that states that build a strong foundation of economic success and shared prosperity by investing in education, by providing access to high-quality education, will not only expand the economy opportunity for residents and for our nation, but also likely do more strength into the overall state economy. This would later on provide the government to be able to sustain the nation in the long run. Now, the federal government provided overall economic stability. So to ensure that that's what they should do, provide at least 2 years of college-free tuition. That way, we can provide a guarantee for our children. This is the generation we're talking. The children of more highly paid workers are less likely to grow up in poverty. So if we do this, then less likely to be as poor as adults, and more likely to be better educated and paid as adults, and therefore less likely to rely on food stamps or other public assistance that we now spend millions of dollars on food stamps. So this would actually prevent that from happening and just decrease it, because now offering this opportunity would be able to them acquire this assistance. And by Fisher from the Economic Policy stated that the benefits of more educated population acquires not just more than educated workers, but to the future generations on a broader society where states have the greatest role to play. However, it is making sure that all their people, in particular in those from the most disadvantaged backgrounds, have the tools to be highly productive. Education is the key to that, as other things that make learning possible, such as making sure children have decent health care and sufficient nutrition. But all of this goes back to just giving that we are trying to help the people who are in need. two years would be kind of like a waste of time because some of them won't take it serious or they'll just drop out. But 2 years or even a year would be enough for them for be able to acquire some type of knowledge. And under the president and the first lady's leadership, yes.
So you consider some type of knowledge to be the same value as like an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree in today's job market?
Well, wouldn't it be considered some type of knowledge than no knowledge at all?
The-
So are you devaluating the knowledge that a high school person would have to, I mean, all people go to high school. Are you saying one high school is better than the other high school and that we should now define which high school acquires more knowledge than the other high school? Exactly. Like I was saying, under the president, the first lady says that education engaged with leading experts to identify the barriers to increasing college opportunity. Some are promising actions are to help, and now this is going to be able to increase our economy in the long run. It's just whether we are able to actually
Time.
put a chance on it. So.
Like to call on the second member of opposition.
Alright, my name's Cody Fry. This House still negates the fact that, or negates the resolution the United States government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition. Now, you made a point that, the value of some knowledge, that in and of itself is the point of college. I would ask you how you would measure that in a meaningful way, seeing as we can keep track of who gets a job, who gets a bachelor's degree, or who gets a job with an associate's degree in that field. Someone getting a year of knowledge, how are we supposed to know that that knowledge actually came back to society? And what we meant by the waste of the 2 years, when students change their major, some of the classes that they take do not transfer to that major. So that knowledge, if you're putting a value on knowledge, that knowledge is not going towards the degree that's going to give back to society. It might be knowledge in something that they're not even making money for after college. Going back to our first point about dropout rates, the American Institutes of Research state that 30% of first-year students currently under this system, the dropout costs the state $6.4 billion a year in state appropriations, $1.4 billion in student grants given by the state, and $1.5 billion in federal grants given to those students. This study did not account for community colleges whose dropout rates are much higher, and who this program would probably lead students to more often than not, paying for the first 2 years of college to get an associate's degree. These grants did not necessarily, this study did not necessarily cover all tuition, and the loss was still staggering. Graduation rates right now in four-year public colleges are at 58%, and that number drops to 40% at two-year institutions, which are the institutions that this resolution would lead people to go to. And the point you brought up about commuting students, those people, the people that commute might not have to pay for room and board, but those people are still paying to live somewhere. Most commuters have a family that they support. They usually have to have a job. That fact, other than paying for tuition, that's the second highest reason that people will drop out of college. They can't balance work and school, and they're not working to pay for tuition. They're working to support their families, and that's not going to change just because they're going to school. And when we say that college is an investment, we're not saying that by not investing at a federal level that we don't value knowledge as a country. We're saying that if it's an investment, it should be invested in by the person who is taking on the responsibility of finishing their degree. The federal government and taxpayers should not take on the responsibility of someone not finishing their degree and not using that knowledge, because we have no proof that we have no guarantee that they're going to use that knowledge to actually benefit society. And if we're going to invest in something, we expect a return. Not to mention that tuition for 2 years, if someone could already not afford to go to college, after 2 years, if they go to a 4-year institution, they will likely still not be able to pay for that last 2 years. And if they don't receive an associate's degree, then they won't have any degree at all. Not saying that's a wasted period in time. They might experience some kind of personal growth, but I don't think our taxpayers should pay for someone's own personal growth. So a type of plan that would pay for 4 years would fix the system better than a 2-year tuition payment. And more than that, the people who do live in colleges, your question.
So since you just said that, you kind of basically said that instead of paying for 2 years, we should pay for 4. So you do agree that the government should pay for some tuition per student?
I believe that the system is broken, but I do not believe your resolution is the correct way to fix
Okay.
the system.
So, another question, a couple more questions. So do you pay for your tuition out of pocket or do you use government assistance?
I paid for it out of pocket.
Same, okay, perfect. And so do you have a full-time job as well?
I
A
do not.
family to support?
Is this, are these questions about me or about the resolution?
This is a question about the resolution and points that you brought up. So you basically said that most people attending college, that they have families to support that commute, right? So I commute, I pay for my tuition out of pocket, and I don't have a
Are you
family
saying
to
that you're
support.
representative of all students that go to college?
I'm not representing all students who go to college, but my experience with college would be a lot simpler if I didn't have to pay for the first 2 years out of pocket myself.
So you are saying that you represent, if we're talking about a resolution that affects all people in college,
I'm saying
you're using yourself
I'm
as an
using my,
example.
yes,
I
because I am a
understand that,
student
but
who paid the
if we're
first
going to
2
be
years.
if we're going to be saying a resolution that affects everyone, we need to use everyone, statistically everyone. We can't use someone's own individual.
Well, a point that you brought up
experience.
was that you said
That's
majority
time.
of most students.
Alright, like to call on the third member of the government.
My name is Jordan Webb, and I'm from Section 201 as well. Now, my opponents here say that doing so would waste taxpayer money. Now, we say that doesn't the current financial aid system already essentially do about the same thing? It's still using FAFSA, which is funded through taxpayer dollars. And frankly, from there, we are going to propose a new resolution that would ensure that the government would take care of these 2-year costs of college. Now, I want to preface by saying I'm glad Brian Lane isn't in this room, as he would directly be affected by these cuts that we will be implementing here. Now, we are going to argue that professors that are currently employed within universities, we are going to be replacing them with TAs, teachers' assistants. Now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports the average salary of a university professor, and that would come out to $58,000, $830 annually. Now, let's compare that to what a TA would be making, and their median, yes sir.
So right now you are debating a resolution that is not the resolution. You're coming up with a resolution that's not the resolution that we're actually debating right now.
Well, I disagree with you. I think this is just the plan of which we would use in order to go about our resolution. So it is relevant in that sense. Okay, if I may continue here. Now, teachers' assistants' annual salary comes out to $15,792. Now, let's take the, sorry to just put you on the spot there. Let's take the difference of the two. That would give a difference of $43,000. Now, it is within this proposal that we will be using this money in order to cover the cost of several students so that they can attend 2-year college, and that is how this will be funded. Now, you also bring up in rebuttal to this point that they had brought up, 42% of graduates from 2-year colleges, they don't complete their degree in a timely manner. Now, to counter that, I'd say that with these initiatives, they're getting this free, or their tuition taken care of, that would encourage these people to complete their degree in a timely manner, as they would want to pay back the source that had given them money in the first place. Now, I want to cover and just further support our main claim here that the government should take care of 2-year colleges. As previously stated by our Prime Minister, the interest rates are nearly 7% for our current student loan systems, and education is a limited opportunity. And by passing this bill, we believe citizens will have the opportunity that they have not previously had in the past due to whatever financial reasons they may have had. Now, according to the Student Loan Debt and Literacy, it's an article, more than 60% of students relied on federal student loans, which is just above the national average, being 66%. This puts into perspective that a significant number of students currently do not have the financial means in order to attend college, thus turning to the the loan financing system. Now, this system is designed not to benefit more so the student, but more the borrower. And as our opponents have already stated, he even admitted this is a flawed system. They recognize this, and they agree that the guarantee rather, that the government would cover the cost of 2 years, would give money and financing to students who had previously not had the opportunity based on their financial situations. Now, to lead the argument in a new direction here, while staying loyal to our house's current stance, students are not within the current system. Students are not adequately taught about the impact of their loans and the implications that that'll have later on in their lives. Now, according to the United States Senate, since 1974, the cost of college tuition has risen 350% here. Now, there are relatively few market forces to keep costs down, and students can borrow up to the cost of attendance for an undergrad, while students going into grad school essentially have unlimited access to federal loans and funding. Now, with the cost of attendance on the rise, students adopt an out-of-sight, out-of-mind mentality when it comes to their loans within the current system. They keep it at the back of their minds, they focus on their schoolwork primarily, and they don't give a whole lot of thought on their interest rates, what's going to happen post-graduation. And to tie it all back together, this is just simply to just highlight the broken system that is currently in effect, and that's why this House believes, and in further defense, that the government should guarantee 2 years of college to 2 years college tuition for all U.S. citizens. Thank you.
I'd like to call on the third member of opposition.
So though we agree that the government system is not operating successfully, we do not believe that that guaranteeing 2 years of tuition is the correct way to remedy the issues. For example, Senator Sanders has proposed a bill that would cover all tuition fees for 4 years and reform the student loan system, which is leading many students and former students dry. This plan, Senator Sanders' plan, College for All Act, provides $47 billion to cover 4-year tuition and fees. And the resolution of our affirmative only provides tuition and not the mandatory fees that comes with the actual payment of tuition, which is using the rec center, the library, and all the other stuff that are mandatory for us. As well, going back to the whole commuting and stuff, students that also that don't live on campus, they do have to pay for other stuff, as well as in, like, if they live in student living, they have to pay for rent as well. They have to pay for food, they have to pay for transportation and all that stuff, so they have to get jobs as well. Yes.
So going back to what you just said, right now you were opposing Bernie Sanders. So does your team agree with saying that well, Bernie Sanders is for, full college tuition? So are you guys saying that you're approving, and you're saying you do agree that giving the students the opportunity to have some kind of free tuition would be helpful? Because I kind of didn't understand what you were going for.
We agree that
Because Bernie Sanders is basically saying giving the free tuition, and we're just offering 2 years. But, like, regardless, I don't know where your standpoint is right
we're
now.
saying that instead of doing 2 years, it would be more beneficial for students to get the 4 years, because with 2 years,
But right now,
they can
before
only.
your statement, he suggested that, basically saying that no, that it shouldn't be offered at all, because we can consider that the taxpayers, for instance, the taxpayers wouldn't want to be covering the tuition of these college students that probably might not take the classes serious. So why should taxpayers pay if that's what he just said?
It would be more beneficial for taxpayers to pay 4 years of college tuition for students, for the reason that if they only have 2 years, they can only get an associate's degree, or they can't even finish a bachelor's degree. But like you said, like, they would have some experience to get some jobs. But by providing 4 years of full college, that will allow them to get a full degree, a bachelor's degree, which will get them to allow them to get better jobs that will come with better pay, benefits and everything, than rather than 2 years.
So your statement is basically disagreeing with what your team just said earlier. So I'm just trying to restate what you're saying. That doesn't make sense, because you're either agreeing with us, but we're just saying we're only implementing 2 years.
4 years of education.
You don't have to take all the questions. You could continue your
Okay.
speech if you want.
So yeah, it is an investment because, like I said, like if for the 4 years, it would be more beneficial for the students because they can actually finish this degree. Because with 2 years, like I said before, they would not be able to finish a full degree, as in like they do have experience, but if they wanted to come back and finish school, they wouldn't really have the funds for it because this is for many students who don't have the money for it. And also, with only 2 years, they will feel like they would only have the opportunity to go to community college to get an associate's degree instead of a 4-year college. So, and then it also brings down for private schools because most students would only be available, because this is only for public schools, so what about private schools? So they wouldn't feel the need, they wouldn't feel like they could have the opportunity to go to a private school as well, so they can only take advantage of the 2 years that they're providing and stuff. As well as, and going back to the plan of y'all TAs, teaching, doing the schools and stuff, the TAs don't really have the same experience that professors do, and that's why we pay much more money to, because we trust our professors that with the experience that they have and that the knowledge and the education that they're going to provide us with will be much better, no offense to TAs, is more better for us than what a TA would provide. As well, where'd it go? Yes.
Okay, so, your teammate basically said earlier that he didn't agree that 2 years of college tuition should be paid out of pocket by taxpayers, just because he said there's a 58% dropout rate. So do you not agree that, or, I mean, I'm just confused on where you stand whenever you say that you would rather pay for 4 years for someone to end up dropping out than just pay 2 years. So that's basically what your team is opposed, like, saying, that y'all would rather pay 4 years of college tuition.
The taxpayers should pay 4 years of college tuition.
Yes, even though there's a
because they can
58%,
finish their degree.
even though there's a 58% dropout rate, like you said earlier, versus just paying the first 2 years, which you didn't
Well,
provide
what is the dropout
information on.
rate?
The dropout rate for community
For
college.
2 years, once they only finish 2 years, there'd be more dropout rates because people can't actually finish the full 4 years.
Okay, so you would
That's
rather-
time. You guys don't have to answer all the questions. You could just say like, I'm not gonna take your question at this time, so you could finish up your speeches. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Armando Gaitan, my section is 201. I would like to affirm that this House believes that the U.S. government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition for all U.S. citizens, okay? I have listened with great clarity and I have understood the differences of both houses, the affirmative and the opposite side of this case. And I know it must have been very, very, very difficult for the opposing side to disagree, since I presume they have debt as well. So we are both somehow on the same boat together. While the opposing side disagrees, let me reaffirm what this House cares about: American education and the opportunity of a higher education, way beyond a high school diploma that we the people of the United States deserve to obtain. This House has stated that our current education system is limited, and that shall not be the case. Our American people live in fear of not pursuing a higher education simply because the weight of debt is placed on their shoulders. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, student loans represent the highest amount of delinquent debt compared to all other forms of debts like household debts, including mortgages, auto loans, and credit cards. It's happening to American students right now, right here, today. By passing this bill, Americans will be able to indulge in education guilt-free without worry of drowning in debt while trying to improve the quality of their lives and America's economy. Secondly, This house believes that education is an investment. Yes, an investment. And by passing this bill, more students will be able to obtain a bachelor's degree and beyond. Yes, we have mentioned that FAFSA is surely a current investment into education, but the reality is that this is also an expensive burden. The high interest rates bury students in debt before they are even setting foot into their education. This House believes that by passing this bill, an improvement of our economy will occur by better investing into Americans' basic education. The first 2 years of college will give our American people education taught in economic courses, along with math, sciences, and literature courses that can provide basic skills, job skills that many Americans currently lack. And that goes back to when we were discussing about what are we going to use that knowledge, how is that going to be used, or in any job that we have, that we get, we have to know math, we have to know, we have to be literate, we have to know, and sometimes, in high school, we kind of slack, we don't put much effort into it. And I think this 2 years will help Americans, all of us, be more knowledgeable, and we can use that back into our economy. This can be prevented if we give an equal opportunity to those Americans who want to better themselves. Therefore, I'm going to restate this. This House believes that the U.S. government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition for all U.S. citizens.
Like to call on the opposition whip.
Well, I've heard, we've obviously been sitting here debating this for a while, and my House still negates the resolution the United States government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition. And from what I've heard from the other side, they are kind of assuming that my side is against free education for people in America. That is not what we are debating right now. We are debating the resolution that the United States government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition. That system will not fix the issues that are already miring the system. One, that will not fix the student loan problem, seeing as most student loan money does not go towards tuition. Two, it does not fix the student loan interest rate, which is the main issue of the student loan system. And when we talk about rates of dropping out and how that wastes money on the side of taxpayers or whoever's paying for college, the system is broken, and we think that a system of paying for tuition for all 4 years and fixing the student loan system would decrease that dropout rate and make it a better investment decision for the United States taxpayers. As we stated in our first disadvantage in our constructive speech, a UNT tuition is only $4,000, whereas room and board is $15,000. So they would be taking a loan out for that $15,000. They cannot afford any cost of going to school. There's no way to assume that after the 2 years of free tuition that they would be able to afford the next 2 years. If they go to a university, they're not getting an associate's degree. They will not have a degree. And whereas one point of your argument was the value of knowledge, I don't think you can put the value of knowledge on a job application at all. And if you put an associate's degree and someone else puts a bachelor's degree, that person is most likely going to get the job. I don't think you can put 1 year of college education on a job application and someone will hire you over someone that has a bachelor's degree. And this also goes to the fact that if you're not getting a job and you're strapped with these student loans, then you have no way of paying it off. You're sitting in debt, and that's not helping society at all. And if college is being paid for, and students, if the system is fixed, if we have regulations for higher education institutions, we fix the dropout rate by, if we are giving federal aid for 4 years, we add requirements that states have to meet, which is in the Bernie Sanders Plan College for All Act. To receive federal money, they would have to meet certain requirements that would improve post-secondary institutions. The issues with post-secondary institutions right now are what contribute to the high dropout rate. This House believes that the system is very broken, but only guaranteeing 2 years of college tuition is kind of like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, and removing that system to put in a system in place that would pay for all college would only cost the government more money, and as well the taxpayers. Also, we believe that the taxpayers themselves, through the income tax, should not be paying for college and should not be paying for a system that is not going to improve post-secondary institutions. We believe if we are going to tax we believe, as Bernie Sanders states in his College for All Act, that if we are going to tax someone, we should tax Wall Street speculators for fractions of a percent, which would give us billions of dollars to use for post-secondary institutions. But mostly we negate the fact that this resolution would help the system. We agree that the system is broken, but we do not believe that this system is the correct one to fix it. Yes.
If I may, just clarify my proposition from earlier about the TAs taking over for the professors. Would you not agree that TAs simply facilitate the same curriculum that professors do? I mean, I can give a personal vouch of my recitation with Daniel. It seems to be running very smoothly. It is the same curriculum a professor would be presenting with. So what other, I guess, traits or skills would a professor possess compared to, say, the TA?
Well, I would answer that question by saying that the resolution that we're debating right now is whether the government should guarantee 2 years of college tuition. Now, if we were debating a resolution that the United States government should fix the post-secondary institution teaching environment, then that's what I would answer that question.
That's time.